Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Planet Tyro. I'm your main host, Donald Wonder, and I'm joined by my buddy, the old boy. Also known as the zombie cat-face killer. Wake the fuck up! You better return from the dead, son, because we're going to be doing a very long overdue podcast. For what show, old boy? What show am I going to be speaking about now? Finally.
Breaking Bad.
We all did that.
Oh shit, we did. Oh, Stardust Crusaders.
That's coming soon, but not quite.
Oh, I don't know then.
Well, people can see on the screen, so no point fucking around. It's The Walking Dead, people. The Walking Dead. Oh boy, this is actually one of the most requested TV shows that people have asked us to take a look at. But to be quite honest, the main reason we hadn't done it before is because I, like the plague, wink wink, had avoided watching The Walking Dead for all these 6 or 7 years to this day.
Yeah, that's a pretty long time. Actually only got into The Walking Dead. Did I watch the first season?
I thought you were a loyal fan. Now you're telling me you're not. You haven't been watching it from day one?
No, dude. I think I started watching it in like the third or fourth season.
People had this idea that I was being... I mean, all of my friends have been watching The Walking Dead. Everybody I know had at least seen the first 2 seasons, and people were just calling me a stuck-up prick, a nonconformist. You know, you don't want to be Mr. Popular. You're just not watching it because of no reason. It's a great show. Why aren't you watching it? But oh boy, I gotta be honest with you, and I told you this before. I have never really been a fan of the zombie genre. I've never... Not the biggest horror fan. I enjoy it. But zombies, if you're talking specifically, no. Me and zombies, growing up with zombies, most of the time, I just saw these one-off, cheaply made movies, and most of it was kind of that kind of horror comedy genre, or just, to me, zombies were not even a very good kind of monster because they're so slow. I know there's different types of zombies and infections and all these kind of subsections. I didn't give a shit about all of that. The zombie films I saw in the past were shit. But saying that, Catface, you yourself, a couple of years ago, you put me onto a zombie franchise, the audio drama called We're Alive.
Oh shit, son.
And I have to admit, man, that was a very good look for you. And that was a great audio drama that I already did the review for, guys. If you haven't checked out that series, again, on a story level, even putting aside my distaste for zombies or whatever, from a story level, that was a very good recommendation. And you showed me, son, you showed me the potential a zombie story could have. So after that point, I was a little bit more open to watch The Walking Dead, but still zombies and me, even now, after The Walking Dead, just zombies don't do it for me per se. But that's just a little back history on me and zombies. But before we start, what about you, man? I need to hear about your thoughts on zombies even before you came into The Walking Dead.
Oh man, first of all that stuff you're saying about how you have an aversion to it, that's all still true. It hasn't really changed that much. There's just more of it, so there's more diversity. And when you have more diversity, you're gonna have more gems. That's just the laws of average. I mean, regardless of what genre, what topic, whatever the fuck you're doing, like 95% of it's gonna be schlock. We especially are familiar with that because we love anime and manga, and that is like all sorts of like 99% schlock.
Oh yeah, what was the anime? High School of the Dead?
Fuck that anime, okay?
I'm just saying, another example of just zombies that whatever. But yeah, anyway, that was just a point. But continue. I want to hear about you and zombies. And anyway.
Yeah. Well, I mean, on some personal levels, it rings more to my interest because I'm actually. I've always been hesitant to come out and say this, but I'm what's called a prepper. That means I prepare for like natural disasters or scenarios where like society falls down. Like I live in California. We don't get like plagues of earthquakes, but we can get a really bad earthquake and it's done. You know, there's no way National Guard's gonna come out here and fix everything. I don't give a flying fuck what they show on the movies. The government's not gonna save us. I already know from Hurricane Katrina. Especially Hurricane Katrina showed, like, there will be groups of people who pretend to be law enforcement or the military, and they're going to fucking murder and rape people. Yeah. So, I personally have some interests in stories that have to do with survival, or where I could learn stuff from prepping or get ideas for prepping from, which, you know, obviously The Walking Dead's one of them. But zombies and that genre itself, generally speaking, a lot of this is really fucking stupid. Don't do that. And I can learn from that. But I mean,
yeah,
it's like you said. It's generally just bad shit, cheesy shit, terrible drama, terrible decision making. Even The Walking Dead. Before we even get into The Walking Dead, my biggest knock on The Walking Dead and the comic book as well, because they actually had the same problem.
Yeah,
there's a lot of bad stuff, people fucking dying and stuff because people are making retarded decisions, or they're doing literally like shisty or just underhanded or outright just bad stuff behind people's backs or right in front of them. And the other people are just like, okay, and they just go along with it. It's like, dude, your fucking lives are at stake here. What the hell are you doing?
yeah.
That is a cliche that applies really to almost any zombie story. I mean, even We're Alive. We love We're Alive.
Yeah.
I think We're Alive is better than The Walking Dead in all forms.
Okay.
I've read the comic. I've watched the TV show. I played the Telltale games, Walking Dead, which I actually think is the best Walking Dead story. I think We're Alive is better than all those. But even We're Alive has that problem. The problem is, unless you have a story where you're just following one guy who's not stupid, maybe two people together. When you have a group of people, somebody's going to do some stupid shit because they're just fucking stupid. Yeah. That's just how it is.
Yeah, I mean, the horror genre in general has that issue with all of them subsections anyway. So being a zombie story, you can't shy from that. Not saying someone couldn't make a very smart, intelligent character in a zombie story that would actually not frustrate us, but that hasn't happened yet. And as you just said, The Walking Dead does have those elements. But before we get into it, people, I want to let people know what they're getting themselves into with this podcast, what we're going to cover, what we're going to be talking about, and how far we're going to go. So, first and foremost, guys, the main reason I wanted to start by telling you that I was not a zombie fan is, if you're listening to this podcast just to hear a non-zombie fan's opinion on the Walking Dead TV series, I will tell you right now, without getting into any spoilers, I think The Walking Dead is a fantastic show from a story perspective. I think The Walking Dead is not just about the zombies. Actually, I would counter or argue the zombies are the smaller part of the picture, and this is mostly about character development. And as a result, I've thoroughly enjoyed the show. If that's all you wanted to know, you don't like zombies, should I watch The Walking Dead? I recommend it, yes. So there you go. But this podcast is going to cover The Walking Dead. The Catface Killer has actually read the comics. He's going to be speaking about the comics, and we're going to at the end talk about Fear the Walking Dead as well. And
no.
Yeah, we have to, because we're completionists, as you guys I always hail myself to be completionist, and this time anyway, we'll get to that. But I just want you guys to know, spoilers, we're spoiling the whole thing. If you haven't watched The Walking Dead, we're going to spoil the major plot points, because I'm going to go through every season, not in length, but we're going to skim through it very streamlined, and we're going to spoil it. If you don't care, stay tuned. It's going to be a fun listen. If you do care, watch The Walking Dead. But we're going to start now, so you were warned. And guys, most of my friends on Facebook know I went on a 2-week Walking Dead marathon from season 1 to season 6, and Fear the Walking Dead all in one sitting. As a result, I can tell you this from watching long-running anime all at once. My experience is going to be different for other people's. I didn't suffer through season finales, mid-season breaks, all this stuff. I watched it as a story all at once, so my perspective isn't going to be the same as the normal fans. And obviously, as I said, I'm not a fan of the zombie genre. So, again, full disclosure, you know where I'm coming from. Now, oh boy, I do want you to explain how you watched The Walking Dead before we start talking about it.
If I'm not mistaken, I think they already had 2 seasons out, and they were starting to air the 3rd one. So I started watching it with my ex. And if my memory serves correct, the 3rd season ends. They have to leave Herschel's farm. Is that right?
That's the end of the 2nd season.
Okay, so they had only aired 1 season, and then while the 2nd season was airing, that's when I picked it up. And I hadn't read the comic at that point. I read the comic only last year.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, but I picked up the gigantic trade books. There's 3 of them right now, and the 3rd one came out in October, so I picked it up.
So the creators have said, and the writers have said, the comic book story and the TV story are like parallel universes.
I would say that's pretty accurate, and I actually say that's a good thing. I normally would like it when people who take like a written source and they put it on the screen, that they try to stay true to it, but there's so many possibilities, there's so many characters, there's so many what ifs and everything in the Walking Dead universe that I think it was a good choice. I actually appreciate the TV show and the comic book differently, and I'll talk about that a little bit more later on, but it was a good decision on their part.
I might as well just ask straight off the bat, do you feel the comic book story is superior than the alternative TV version?
That's a loaded question.
Really?
Let me say this. I like them both for different reasons.
Nice.
The TV show is the group of survivors, the core group of survivors around Nick. The core group of survivors around Rick become like a family, and they even outright say in the show, "These people are my family."
Yeah.
And I really enjoy that aspect of the show. I think it gives it that higher level of storytelling. In the comic books, from the get-go till where I am now, which is actually way past the show chronologically, that's like 10 years into the future.
Okay.
They're only survivors that are stuck together. And that's something that's always been kind of like, as I'm reading it, it's like, dude, after somebody saved your life a bunch of times, or you've been through these scenarios where you're fighting alongside these people, or you're dealing with these life and death situations all the fucking time, you have to put your lives in their hands, you have to learn to trust each other. This would, after like maybe not a month, but like after half a year, after a year, the TV show chronologically is about a year after it starts. So after being together for like a year, dude, you guys are gonna get fucking closer by that point.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of weird to me that even like way off in the future, they're still kind of like, I need you, but we're not friends, dude. We're cool. We're cool. Like, I'll drink some beers with you, but you're not my brother. And whereas the TV show's like, no, fuck those guys. I don't know those guys, but you're my family.
Interesting.
I will fucking kill for you. You know what I mean?
Interesting. Okay.
That's the key difference between the two, and there's stuff from the comic book I like more than the show, but I especially like that in the show way more than the comics.
And I heard the comic has heavy, unlicensed swearing. That's a big part of the comic.
Oh yeah, especially the latest big bad, super filthy mouth.
Yeah, that's what I heard. So, we'll get there. So people, we're officially going to start, and I've got my bullet points. We're going to go through the podcast, guys. I hope you watch the series. Tag along. Again, last warning, spoilers. So let's rewind the clock, old boy, to 2 weeks ago when I started watching The Walking Dead. My observations started from season 1, and I've broken this up into elements, like I've said. And the first element I want to start with was when I first started watching The Walking Dead, I knew it was about a police officer. And I knew it was set in Atlanta, the South. Is it South Atlanta or Atlanta South?
It's somewhere in Georgia. I mean, I know Rick's from Kentucky, but they never go to Kentucky. So
yeah, I mean, the first episode, and this is not a long breakdown, people. I just want to bring up the first episode first. The first episode kind of starts with Rick and his co-worker buddy Shane, and they're going down the highway chasing some bad guys. Something's already askew, but long story short, Rick gets shot, and when I first started watching, I was like, this is interesting. I wonder if it's going to start. I actually thought it was going to start very metropolitan, but the whole thing with Rick waking up in the hospital all alone, that brought a lot of tension, and I thought that was a really great opener, and I've seen a lot of people praise that idea as starting the story as just a lone survivor, not knowing what's happening, and, for the first episode, Rick is kind of walking around, just figuring out what's happened, and you find out he's got a wife and a son that have gone missing, and just from a starting point, I thought it was a very nice hook, kind of a mystery, and a scary mystery, kind of a nice thrill angle to start, and it hooked me straight away. I thought, okay, I'm into this. I was, like I said, pessimistic, but I thought, Rick as a character, I didn't like a cop as a main character, but I thought, all right, let's see where this is going. He's lost, city's fucked, he's alone, he doesn't even know how much time has passed. The disorientation really drew me in, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, well, I'll come out and say, as somebody who's watched and seen and read a lot of the zombie stories, because I've actually read a lot of zombie webcomics too, it's a pretty popular topic. That intro it's not unique, but it's rarely done. So it's something that is more of a breath of fresh air, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of iconic. I mean, the Lost TV show has the main guy waking up on the beach, and I like, most of these showrunners, most of these guys writing scripts, you have to have a good opening theme. And I don't know, maybe it's from the comics anyway. If that's how the comics started, then tips off to the writer. But again, this is just how effect had on me. Now, the first season was only 6 episodes, I believe.
Was it?
Yeah, I believe it was 6 or 8. It wasn't even more than 10. It was 6 or 8 episodes. And then the second season got double. And then it doubled up from that point on. So, I checked. Don't worry about it, old boy.
What the hell? I thought you had notes.
Oh, I do, but I don't have precise numbers. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about people. People, we don't care about precise. This is Planet Title. Welcome.
Yeah, your most accurate news source for everything.
So, again, I'm not going to break down bit by bit, but one of the first things the first things I saw in The Walking Dead first season, I thought, I'm going to hate this show. When I saw that, this love triangle element with Rick and his wife and Shane, I just thought, melodrama. I mean, right off the bat, I didn't like it, but I was wondering where they were going to take it. And for that first season, it didn't go. That leads on to the second season, but the first season with Rick trying to find his kid and find out his best friend's fucking his wife. Oh my shit! What's going to happen when he finds out? So, and most people do not like Rick's wife when you catch up with her. It's a short first season, but just to set things off, City fucked, Rick wakes up trying to find his wife and kid, and his best friend's fucking his wife. It just had me eye rolling. Yeah,
I'm actually glad I was able to start off like at a fast pace before, because like that's just, it was turning me off for the show. I didn't like that. And it turns out in the comic, actually, Shane doesn't live very long, so none of that triangle shit really happens.
But for some reason, they dragged it out in the series, because that shit goes on to season 2. And because now we're at the end of season 1, and they're in the city, the metropolitan, the whole city's taken over. Again, love seeing the visuals. I love seeing that visually, seeing a town being overrun by zombies. In the first season, I don't think the character designs are great, but whatever.
Well, it was a very short first season, as you said. I mean, they didn't have a whole lot of time to really even develop any of the characters. You go in there and you're just like, these are a bunch of guys who, they have like 1 or 2 key personality points and they're just surviving together. Oh, but that guy died. Oh, that guy died. That's really kind of all it is.
Yeah, and at the end of the first season, this is a very interesting point. At the end of the first season, the team, they run into the CDC, the Disease Center Control, and they meet someone who gives them the first kind of information on the zombie apocalypse, telling them that it's a virus. They even show on the screen how the virus takes over. And funny fact for those who are listening, the writers said they wish they never even wrote the episode. They wish they didn't tell anyone about anything about the disease. I actually liked the episode. I thought it was cool, especially the way it ended in a big explosion. But I thought it was good, and I think the characters knowing more about the disease and how they, well, we'll get to that in season 2, but I thought that was a good episode, and I don't know why the writers wish they never did that. I didn't think it was bad at all.
I think the premise of it and most of the episode was fine, but I did not like the drama that came with the characters not wanting to leave, or all that other shit. Like I said before, the dumb shit, that people do.
So let's move on into the second season. Now, to me, this is a widely known to the public. People hated the second season because they were stuck on a farm. This is where watching things in bulk gives you a different inflection. I watched all of that all at once. I didn't have to wait week by week while they were on this farm, and I completely understand why people on a weekly basis would just lose their mind over it. But there was some good things on that. Carl got shot, Carol's daughter being missing, and how that came about, and Shane and Rick coming to a head. I think season 2 is a very good character building season, and it actually made me really fall in love with The Walking Dead on a character based level. But if you're talking about action and stuff going on, it was very slow paced, and I can understand why the ratings went down a lot. It was a big thing for The Walking Dead. It was a big lull in the series. But again, this was one of the benefits of watching it all at once, and I know a lot of fans hate that season.
Dude, I do hate that season. And it's mostly because there is good character development and stuff, and they do tackle some of the more philosophical topics and stuff, because they, like, for example, they got this guy that tried to attack them. They have him prisoner. We can't just let him go, right? Well, we gotta execute him. We can't execute him. We're not barbarians, blah blah. And actually, I'm gonna come out and say this is probably gonna be really surprising, but early on, my favorite character was Dale because he was the voice of consciousness. Everybody else just kind of, just went on with whatever was going on, just followed around blindly, didn't really stand up and say anything or whatever.
Yeah.
But he actually would put his foot down and he'd say, no, that's wrong, blah, blah, blah. No, we can't do that. Or we need to do that. If we don't do that, we're going to go down a road, which you see later on from other survivors, where we can't turn back from, and it's just going to get worse and worse.
Yeah.
And he is one of the highlights of season 2, and I really enjoyed him in that. But one of the things I really hated about season 2, while a lot of people were developing and everything, it's very clear they had no fucking clue what to do with Shane and Lori, because Shane died early on in the comics. There was no love triangle, so now Lori's like she's like super erratic. She's like, stay away from my son, it was a mistake, no, we can't do this anymore, you need to fucking respect my wishes. And then Shane's trying to leave, she's like, what are you doing, you can't just leave my son like that, like literally verbatim she's telling him, you can't abandon my son. It's like, what the fuck, bitch, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, and on top of that, when she confessed to Rick what he was doing, a lot of the fans were like, this bitch is just manipulating the situation. Like, Rick, he wants me. He told me that he's all mine. He told me that the baby's his too. Rick, you got to do something about this, Rick. And I understand from a fan perspective why you just see, this woman's a fucking manipulative bitch. She can't make up her mind. And, I agree with you that she even kind of used Shane and threw him away, which was really bad. But I don't want to defend her. But they didn't write her in I didn't like foaming at the mouth hate her. I just thought she's a stupid bitch. And I like the fact she was honest with Rick. I like the fact she came out and told him everything, even though I spoke to my sister about it and she fucking had to. I mean, he's the leader. How's he going to lie to him? He's going to find out about the pregnancy anyway. But if you read the comic, like you said, and you saw this, it probably did look like they didn't know what they were doing. Me not knowing the comic and watching the story, I was more irritated with the fact that Shane didn't fucking leave. I mean, there was a clear point where Shane was like, I'm out here. Fuck these people.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they didn't know what they were doing, these two characters.
And he was going to walk off with Andrea, but obviously they decided to kill him off. And I like how it went to a head of him and Rick. But honestly, I just thought it would have been more realistic if he just one day went off. And he wanted to do that. He said like there's a clear point he wanted to go. And I just thought he would have left Rick and this girl and his pregnant wife and just thought, fuck these, I'm going to do my own thing. But the fact he stayed and tried to fight, she's mine, Rick, I got a kid. I was like, nah, I don't believe that. I actually didn't believe that in the story that he would have done that. I don't. And I don't know in the comic if he died the same way in the comic.
No, he didn't. Actually, it's kind of early to be bringing this up. You know what? No, we'll talk about it later. I was going to ask you who your favorite character was, but we'll go further into the story before we do that.
Oh, definitely.
Because it has to do, my answer has to do with Shane, so that's why I asked.
Fair enough. We will wrap around to it. Don't remind me if I miss it, but the last point I want to make, because, by the way, Herschel, again, I love the fact this was another character. I mean, Walking Dead does some great character development. Herschel was a character that I just thought was very ignorant, but understandably so. It was all because of trauma. And then obviously by the next season, which we'll get to, he became one of the most sweetest characters in the whole show. An excellent father figure. It hurt me what happened to him in the future, but he was such a great character, such a great father, such a great pillar of a character that stuck around for such a long time. And he was just seeing him. I never thought he would even stick around as long as he did, which we'll get to in a minute. But I just want to say, the introduction of Herschel and Maggie and all that. Herschel, I loved. Maggie and that, we'll get to that later. But I just love season 2 for Herschel. It was a great character they brought in The Walking Dead.
He was a good character. I think in season 2, he's borderline like the guy you're supposed to not like. But
definitely,
he's justified in a lot of the stuff that he puts his foot down on. And then in season 3, he really steps up and becomes a much more likable character.
Yeah. Yeah, even at the end of season 2, where he tells Rick, Rick, I'm gonna let you take the lead, and he just lets him take it, but he assists him. I like the fact it wasn't one of them Rick had to overthrow him, like how Rick had to kill Shane. It wasn't. No, this guy worked with me. He's on my side. He became a mentor to. I just love that. And moving on to the end of season 2, the whole farm exploded, zombie takeover. That isn't really important right now, but one of the most pivotal points for Walking Dead is when you get one of the biggest franchise reveals at the end of season 2, which is something Rick kept to himself in season 1, which changed is the whole dynamic of The Walking Dead as a franchise. And I'm leading the old boy on by saying this, but Rick tells the group that at the end of season 1, the guy that ran the CDC told him that they're all infected. And this has major ramifications in the world of The Walking Dead for the main reason, no matter who you are, when you die, you will turn. And that, as a franchise, I thought this was very interesting because no matter what you do, you will turn into a zombie. And that makes this a terrifying series for the main reason it happens in the future. If you forget to kill someone in the right way, they will come back and you could pay the price. So I just thought that one element, that everyone is potentially a zombie one way or another, just that one element just changed the dynamic of the series for me. It's a very interesting point. And as a writer, I just thought it was a very interesting twist on this zombie story in particular. One of the things that makes it special as a zombie story.
It is one of the things that makes there's always going to be that level of tension, no matter how safe you think everything is. If somebody has a fucking heart attack in their bed during their sleep, that's like one of the most preferred ways to die. Yeah. Well, that's not for the people who survive it. I mean,
no, I hear you. I just obviously, and honestly, even when you said it at the end of season 2, I didn't understand the ramifications until season 3 when they had to stab in the head and when they didn't, and they make it very clear. So that was really cool. So at the end of season 2, by the way, Rick snaps. After he kills Shane, this is like his first mental breaking point. He just screams at the group.
One of the best Walking Dead quotes ever. Yeah. It's not a democracy anymore.
Yeah, and he's I killed my friend for you people. All this shit about that, because in the first 2 seasons, folks, I'll tell you about
everybody. The first 2 seasons, everybody's always questioning him. They're always disrespecting him. They're always disobeying his orders, going around behind his back, sneaking around, doing shit. He's just like, "Fuck you, people! Stop that shit!"
But they want him to make
fucking listen to me.
But they want him to make the hard decisions as well. So that's the funny thing. It's like they blame him when it goes wrong, or they choices actions. But when they have to do the hard things that kill, they're all looking at Rick. So. And we'll get to this more
too, though. I mean, I think it's as annoying as it is and everything. I think it is part of true human nature, is that sort of shirking responsibility. We saw it in We're Alive. I don't have a problem with that at all. I mean, that's how people are.
Yeah. So, hey man, so that's season 2 over. They're back in the wilderness. They're back on the road, back in the woods, looking for a place to stay. And that's where we start getting to the bigger story arcs, including the first big one, which is the prison arc, which is a nice big one. And I definitely want you to speak more about this, because I heard this is very different in the comic as well. Well, I'm not sure if that's true, but this prison saga, they find the prison, they try to secure it and make it their base, and unfortunately, they run into someone in the surrounding area having their own community called the Colonel, and this is what a whole new
his name's
starts.
Actually the Governor.
Oh, the Governor! The Colonel, like the KFC.
No, he's not Sanders.
I'm sorry.
They might be Southern gentlemen, and they might both have Southern gentleman accents, but only one of them's a Colonel.
The Colonel sounds lame. I'm British. The Governor. That's how we say it. The Governor.
Governor?
The Governor. The Governor.
All right.
But before the Governor, it's halfway through season 3. It's all about them securing this prison, and I just thought it was awesome. I thought, wow, and then, the prison stuff. I'll let you talk about it a little bit more as a season. How do you feel about this prison arc?
I felt, well, for one, I thought it was a step up from the farm for definitely, a lot of reasons, but this is where it really starts to differ from the comics. While I was watching it, I didn't know that, because like I said, I only read the comics last year, which would have been season 5, right? Is it on season 6?
Well, we're just finished season 6 right now.
Okay, so yeah, it would have been after season 5. So, just going into this, I just felt like there's still the same problems. People sneaking around doing dumb shit, blah, blah, blah. But there's less of it. And, when you have so many characters, you can make it a story that's centered around 1 or 2 people. But you guys, I've heard this on you guys' other recordings where there's like a lot of characters, they're cool and everything, but they get pushed back. This is where it starts to not be like that anymore. It becomes more of an ensemble cast story, yes. Whereas before it was just you were focused on Rick and his family in the first 2 seasons. So that was a big step in the right direction, I think, starting with season 3. And it's honestly, that's where it really starts to pick up. It's a hard sell to get somebody to go through the first 2 seasons, but I mean, if you can binge watch it, obviously it helps. But season 3 is where it really does start to pick up.
And I'd like to speak about one of the major points that happens halfway through season, not even halfway, I think the first 6 months of season 3. when we didn't mention this in season 2. Laurie gets pregnant, or Rick's wife gets pregnant, and then unfortunately she dies giving birth to her child. Just because she couldn't, the doctor wasn't around. She might have died anyway, but long story, she dies. It's another breaking point for Rick, and actually, this is another big mental snap for Rick, because obviously the affair with her and Shane just really upset Rick. Killing Shane killed Rick, and then, you know, he was very distant with Laurie, and then she died before they could reconcile in any form or way, and it really broke him. And he wasn't there when she died. Apparently, Carl had to kill his own mother.
Cool.
And you know, the guilt and the pain, and I just want to say, the actor, which I'm ashamed that I don't have his name up right now, who played Rick Grimes, who is actually a British actor.
Lincoln. It's Andrew Lincoln.
Andrew Lincoln. Well, I'll get to him in a minute as an actor. We'll speak about him later. But the death of Laurie was handled so. That was one of the moments when he teared up. He handled that as an actor so well. He was so distraught, and there was just a scene with him and the phone, getting these imaginary phone calls, and honestly. That acting on that level was just, as an actor, that was amazing. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I'm going to diverge into the comics quite a bit here, but...
Go.
Yeah, for this season on, this is where it starts getting really different. As a TV show, I enjoyed the prison story arc. I mean, there's some stuff where it's actually mostly on the governor's side, where you have people who are like basically willingly blind to what's going on with the governor and him being nuts, and just basically him being a psychopath, really. I mean, you know... He has soldiers, right? And these soldiers get orders, or they see the stuff he's doing with other people. The guy is not right in the head, okay? I mean, he's doing some stuff like there's a bunch of soldiers, which actually the action scene was garbage. I hated that. But there's a bunch of soldiers around the crashed helicopter. You know, they start talking to them, everything. Clearly, these guys are not hostile. Okay, let's massacre them. It's like. You guys don't have a problem with this? I mean, they weren't doing anything to anybody.
Was that the same in the comic? Because I saw that in the TV series.
No, that did not happen in the comic at all.
Did they portray him differently in the comic? Is what I'm asking as well. Is that what you're saying?
They portrayed him a little bit differently in the comic. I mean, he still has no problem murdering people to stay at the top or get to the top. There is a helicopter pilot that crashed, and he, you know, at first it seems like he rescues him, but then the reveal is he executed the guy. And he kept his head, but there wasn't like a whole bunch of soldiers. It was just the pilot. But the big thing that made him like fucking like this guy is nuts is in the comics. The guy is like he keeps his daughter chained up as a zombie, which is in the show too. But he's he's like fucking molesting her in the comics. Yeah, he's like trying to. He like had her teeth removed. He's like French kissing her, and it's just. It's pretty fucking weird shit. Okay?
Zombie French kiss your daughter.
Yeah, and he actually vomits from it, and then he tries to apologize to her. It's like, whoa, that is like if I saw that as a follower, I'd be like, I think I'm gonna strike it out on my own.
Fucking hell. Wow, that governor.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this is private, but even if it's private, he has to have like some guys who know this is going on. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's mostly on the governor's organization side where I'm like, really? The show a little bit less than the comic series, but in the comics, there's several deaths that do happen or don't happen, and the group dynamic up to this point is actually a lot different. There's I think there's like 3 or 4 different family units in their group at this point, whereas in the TV show, it's just Carol's family and Rick's family, I think, right? Oh, and Herschel's family.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
So I think there's like
in the TV series, Carol's family's gone. It's only Carol. So.
Well, I was going to bring that up. In the comics, Carol still has her daughter, and so you know you can technically say that's a family unit. And I think there's this dude named Alan who he has a cameo in the show, but way later. So Alan was in the original group. He has twins, and he had a wife that did not get along with Rick. They actually fought all the time.
Ooh.
But she didn't make it that far into the comic. But he makes it to the prison, and then he dies in the prison, and his twins get murdered. No, his twins do not get murdered. I'm sorry, his twins do not get murdered. There's a set of boy twins and a set of girl twins. The girl twins get murdered.
Okay.
They get murdered by one of the inmates, and that's again, Like you come into a prison, there's you don't know anything about these prisoners. You don't even gotta try to look up what they were booked for or anything. That shit.
Were these some of the prisoners that Rick met in the series at all? Because I know he killed most of them, and there's the guys that tried to fuck with him.
They have like I think it's 4 in both of them, but the only one.
Don't go too much in detail, though. Don't bother going too much.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go too much in detail. Basically, I think it's the same prisoners, except one of them kind of looks like Shane. At least to me, he looked like Shane. That's the guy that tries to push a walker into Rick while they're clearing out a room.
Yeah.
So that guy was different, and then there was as the leader of the prisoners, and then there was the guy that murders the twin girls is, obviously he's like a child murderer. So he's different from whoever they had in the show, which I think was just a guy that ended up dying, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I got to bring up one particular character who comes in season 3 in the TV series as well, and that actually got to do with someone we never mentioned. In season 2, there was that side character Andrea as well. She meets one of the main characters in the TV series, a very loved character. It's a black samurai lady called Michonne. She's a badass.
Oh yeah, dude, straight up, she's a badass in the comics too, but she's also a whore in the comics.
A hoe?
She fucking throws herself at like everybody.
Really?
So there's a point in the comic book where it looks like she's gonna hook up with Rick after everything they've been through, and I actually didn't have a problem with that. I was like, that feels natural, and then it never happened. I was like, what the fuck? He's like hooking with everybody else.
Out of curiosity, is that a power thing? Is she just like sex? What is that? Is she just?
I think part of it was just coping with the loneliness and the loss of her boyfriend and everything.
Because in the series, she plays super stoic for so long. She plays very straight edge and very cold for a very long time.
Well, she's stoic and cold in the comics too, but she likes sex. So that's one of the big differences. Starting off with the 3rd season. The other one is Carol lives in the TV show, which actually I like that. We'll get into that later because she shines later on in the series. But Lori dies differently. One of the biggest differences, besides the way Rick's core group, his family, is in the TV show, like, and when I say family, I mean encompassing everybody that he trusts. In the comic books, the comic is a lot more brutal than the TV show, which is saying a lot because it's pretty brutal. I mean, but especially maybe up until like season 5, there's clearly a line that they're not going to cross in the TV show.
Okay.
Like they'll flirt with going to that line as close as possible, but they won't step over it. And like one of these examples is in the comics, Lori she survives childbirth, right? And then in the middle of the war with the governor and his people, when they're attacking the prison, she gets gunned down, and Lori's holding Judith. She also dies.
Whoa!
They get gunned down running away from people invading their home, which is that's very fucking brutal to me. Versus like dying in childbirth, having your son putting you out, that's pretty sad and everything. But getting gunned down while you're running away from people invading your home is fucking brutal.
Wow. Damn. But you know what? Since you brought it up, I do want to say the show's on AMC. I thought this show was going to be so tiptoey when it comes to violence and gore. I have to say, man, I hear what you're saying, but for AMC, I am very impressed with the level of violence that they show on the show. And I'm not a fiend. I'm not like hungry for violence or want to see it. As the show progressively goes on, it gets more violent in the TV series, especially Rick, as he gets more broken and more psychologically damaged, and he just becomes more I don't know my words. He just becomes more unforgiving.
He becomes less officer friendly.
Man, you took the words out of my mouth. Perfect. And I just like the way the show depicted that. I thought it was very honest, and for what they got to work with, the limitations of the network, they're doing their best. But it's interesting to hear these things you're saying. But let's move forward to season 4.
No, wait. I can't move forward. Like,
damn,
wholeheartedly, I agree with you and everything. But like, this is what I'm trying to talk about specifically. Like, this story arc is a good example of it. And also part of the problem, I say, like with the governor's people and everything. Okay, there's a scene. Well, it's not that scene. I mean, there's a shared scene in both the comics and the TV show where some of the Rick's people get captured and they're getting tortured and everything, right? Okay, in the comics, one of those people is Michonne. In the comics, the governor is not just beating the fuck out of Michonne and everything while she's helpless. He's also raping her.
Wow.
Okay, so again, that line of brutality, while they do an admirable job, they clearly will not cross it on the TV show.
Do you know that HBO passed on The Walking Dead, by the way?
That was a mistake, HBO. Anyways, not only that, her retaliation on the governor, she does stuff like, she cuts off like one of his arms. I don't think she cuts off one of his legs, but she cuts pretty deep in it. She nails his dick to a plank. She does all sorts of really equal stuff basically back to him. She scoops out one of his eyeballs, which I think she does it in a TV show too, but
she stabs him in the eye. Yeah.
Okay, she scoops out one of his eyeballs with a spoon. She gets him back. She does some really fucked up shit back to him. And it's like I said, the comic is a lot more brutal than the TV show. Although the TV show is starting to basically the TV show has progressed in the consecutive seasons since the third season to the point where I can't make an accurate prediction off of the season 6 cliffhanger because I don't know if they're actually going to cross that line of brutality yet or not.
Okay, I want you to get out of your system before I carry on. Is that it?
For season 3, yeah, that was it. I don't want to talk too much about it, but
well, here's the thing about season 3 and 4. They merge. They both the prison saga isn't over, even in season 4.
Right. Sorry, my bad.
No, that's fine. That's the thing with the next 2 seasons, they merge. And that's another problem people had, the cliffhangers, because I think at the end of season 3, what happens at the end of season 3 again? It's the prison arc, because I think that's what happens. It's the end of the prison arc for the governor, but then the governor has his own little episodes and comes back, and then he gets his revenge on them.
Oh, you know what? This also plays back to the brutal topic. When they're attacking the prison, like the people following him they don't find out. He makes them shoot these people, right? So one of them finds out that she shot a woman and a helpless woman and her baby, and she's like really upset about it. He like tries to brush it off. He executes Herschel. One of Herschel's sons is still alive. He executes him too. Or no, he got gunned down while they were fighting and everything. And his people rebel against him. They just they murder him on the spot.
Really?
Yeah. So it's like I said, a much more brutal story with the comic than the TV show.
Okay.
Straight up mutiny on him right there on the spot because he went way too far. They couldn't play willfully ignorant anymore.
I was expecting that to happen in the series, and when it was too, but he went through his whole plan and he killed Herschel. You know what I mean? It's like fucking no, this guy's he's evil to the core. He's oh man. But yeah, man. Let me get back onto this. Even though we jumped to the end of the whole prison thing, going back to the prison thing because we have to there's a few things I want to clear up.
Sure.
One of the elements of the TV series I thought was very weird and people hated this was the flu, this whole zombie flu thing where people didn't understand it. It was very vague and it was very slow. It took up a few episodes. As a viewer, even I felt I wasn't sure if they were just doing that to kill. Because actually, let me rewind even before that. It was at the end of season 3, one of the things that happens is after the whole governor things, after he fails the first time, which makes no sense to me, the people from Governor's Town move into the prison. And I was thinking, wouldn't Rick want to take over the town? Not them move to the prison?
Yes, especially after it got trashed.
Yeah, he got attacked a few times, but the governor didn't burn it down until after they left, by the way. So there was time for Rick to go and take over Governor's Town and become the governor or whatever, but instead he brought the people to the prison, and then that's when that zombie flu came and killed half the people in there. So I don't know, that flu. I like the fact that Daryl, everyone's favorite character, Daryl, and a few of them others had to go on the run to get the antibiotics. But I just thought this zombie flu that just came out of nowhere, it's kind of a weak excuse to kill a whole bunch of people. And they weren't main characters they killed anyway, except for Carol had that thing where she killed 2 people in the series, and that was a big. Rick kicked her out of the group, which was a big point in the series as well.
Well, this all ties into it didn't happen in the comics, so they clearly didn't know what the fuck they were doing.
Sure. But anyway, as a TV series, as you watched that, how do you feel about that? Those little things there.
I'm gonna be honest, I didn't remember a flu until you started talking about it, and I was thinking while you're talking, what the fuck is he talking about? Because I remember the people joined, but that's true that like most of them didn't show up later on. What happened? And you kept talking. I was like, Oh, I guess that did happen. So I guess I didn't think much of it.
No, because it was so like what? Zombie flu. Then Herschel's going, and people just die when they get it, and it was scary, but it was a weird subplot. And then the governor came and killed, and then anyway, after that point, we might as well skip from the prison part, because after the governor in the TV series, after the governor comes back and he gets killed the final time, the whole crew is split. Everyone is split. The prison, Rick is on this way. Rick thinks his baby's dead. And you know what? A character I never even spoke about up until now, which I feel ashamed about because it's a very big minority character, is Glenn.
Yeah, good old Glenn. Glenn's
a character in the beginning. Let's rewind a bit. In the beginning, he was kind of like that young gamer kid. Who to me wasn't taking the situation seriously until season 2, where he met Maggie, his girl. And I really liked Glenn in the first 2 or 3 seasons, but in the latter seasons we'll get to, they're just not doing much with him, and they're writing him into a corner. But we're going to talk about that because why we're both going to talk about that. But
yeah, there's going to be a lot of talk of that. But yeah, clearly starts out not serious, invincible, happy-go-lucky kid. He has no problem helping people out because he doesn't think anything's going to happen to him, right? Yeah. So I think well deserved, one of the most popular characters, and I liked him a lot through most of the series. Yeah. But getting on towards the end, it's not just that they don't do a whole lot with him. They peg him as this is the super good guy.
Yes.
This more so than Rick. This is the good guy, and that's fine and everything. But there's some problems I have with it, like
when we get to season 5.
Yeah, especially with season 5.
This fucking idiot. But we'll talk about it later. But anyway, he gets with Maggie in season 2, and then from that point, it's just him and Maggie having a nice relationship. It's cool, and I like that. And I like the fact he grew up. It wasn't just he's married, he's a servant. Especially going back to the whole governor scene, he gets tortured by the governor and fucking Daryl's brother, and his character kind of snaps as well. He's not the smiley, funny boy.
Oh, something important? There's a big difference between the comic and the TV show too. There is no Daryl or Merle.
I heard about that actually.
Yeah, they were made specifically for the TV show.
Interesting. I heard there's a character like him.
There isn't. Okay. There's the only character that's kind of like him, which you should have seen now, was Dwight, because Dwight uses a crossbow. But they're not anything like each other.
Wow, that's even better. We'll get to that later. But cool, because people love him. I mean, have you seen the T-shirts? If Daryl dies, we riot.
Dude, hands down, the most popular character on the TV show. You ask anybody who's your favorite character, Daryl is always on their list.
100%, and he's a cool ass character. The redneck with a heart goal. He's not a redneck. He was never a redneck in my mind. He was just an idiot.
No, he was an outlaw biker dude.
Yeah. I like a really good character. Very stoic, but those guys are built to be loved. Cool. That's the definition of a cool fucking dude. You know what I mean? So.
A bad boy.
Yeah, and obviously the thing with him and his brother just being, he's a redneck, racist arsehole, and just, I like the way they brought him back for the governor's right hand, and the governor betrayed him, and a lot of back and forth, but, meh.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Daryl was one of those choices that panned out for him, but I'm actually kind of upset what happened with Merle, and that they wrote him out, because I think he would have been a good character to actually keep around for the rest of the series. He would have been
very interesting to turn around. If they turn him around, because in the end, just before his death, he understood his place. Even that last thing he said, where he let Michonne go, where he said, you know what, this is what I do. They needed a bad guy. And I like that scene where he let Michonne go.
Yeah, it was good. He had a good redemption, and it's a shame that they didn't continue to explore that. But
and he kind of just gave up. He just let the governor kill him. Really, he didn't even have to fight him. He just went to kill him for what I don't know why he went to kill the governor. Really, it wasn't even that much of a event. He could have left.
Well, he could have left, but the governor was fucking crazy. He was never going to leave Rick's group alone.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, he died heroically. In that case, he died heroically then. But I think we covered most of the prison arc, and I know there's so much indiscrepancies from the comic, but I want to move on to the whole part where they're split from the prison, and this is
where it gets really interesting. This is also why I'm going to ask you what your favorite character is after we talked a bit.
Okay, sure. I was going to spoil it and say it a minute ago, but what I will say is, because I always look at the fan reception, the fans absolutely hated this part again. I guess they don't like to see episodic episodes, and I think this was season 4 now. In season 4, they're split from the prison. They're all kind of making their way to Terminus. Some of them don't even know they're making their way to Terminus, but there's episodes with groups of characters, Rick and his son, with Michonne, Glenn, the what's the big guy, the new black. We'll get to the black cat.
Tyrese.
Actually, you know what? Let me bring this up now. Walking Dead has this thing about black people, and as a black guy, I'm gonna bring this up. Oh, Walking Dead just kills the black people when they bring out a new black person. Let me tell you something about The Walking Dead. Of all the shows I've seen on TV, it's got one of the most multicultural casts, and they've had, for a primetime show, it's probably had the most black actors I've seen in the show at a time. Yes, they do swap them in and out. I will agree to that. But there have been a lot of black characters on the show, more than I've seen on most primetime shows, honestly. So I have to recommend the show for the diversity, to be honest with you.
Oh, I will say, first of all, Tyrese in the comic book, cornerstone character while he's around. And he comes in earlier than he does in the TV show. In the TV show, I fucking hated how he died. It was absolute cockamamie.
Everybody hated. I didn't know how much people loved him.
Dude, it doesn't matter how much you like him or anything. These people have been surviving for a while. Okay, here's the scenario. He got bit, but you saved somebody before by chopping off their limb quick enough, and then binding it or suturing it or whatever, stopping the bleeding. There was absolutely no reason why they could not do on the spot, just take a bunch of flammable shit, take a pan, stop his bleeding right then and there after cutting it off. There was no swarm of zombies or anything. They're just like, no, we gotta move him. Come on, let's put him in the car.
Is that what you're complaining about? Let me be
the way that's absolute nonsense.
Let me put you on pause there for a minute. You could be upset about that, but I'm more upset about how he got bit, because how he got bit is what I complain about with zombie movies. He got bit with a zombie jumping him that he would have hurt. He walked around the house. He was in a house. This black boy's house, walking in the house. He checked most of the rooms, and if you watch the camera, the zombie this kid zombie jumps his arm like a surprise attack. The zombies are not. It was just like, we're gonna kill this guy.
Yeah, that's fine too. You can complain about that. I have no problems.
Okay, well, here's another fun fact. When the character got the letter from the writer that he was going to be written out, he cried. I mean, he said it's the only cast that actually brought it down to tears and was very upset. And on top of that, he was such a fan favorite. There was a big petition for him. Like, he was already dead. They can't petition to come back. But they were just so upset with him that the writers actually loved this character so much. And I thought this was very weird. In his death scene, he's hallucinating where like 4 characters, even the governor himself, come to visit him, which is very odd and out of place. But they're like, the fans loved him so much, because it's funny how you bring up how much you like Dale as being the voice of reason. This guy, most people saw him as another character that looks big and black and like a muscular guy, but he was actually a gentle giant and was kind of the voice of reason and was always trying to question things, kind of like Dale. That's how people saw him. I kind of didn't-ish. I thought he was soft, but I didn't think he was questioning morals as much as Dale was. I just thought he was not aggressive, and I thought he was a gentle giant. But I didn't.
Yeah, I thought he was a friendly guy, but I don't remember him doing too much questioning.
No, but people was, oh no, he was questioning Rick and he wasn't. I'm like, don't get me wrong, he looked like someone who used to be more menacing, and he was gentle. But I knew, he's a black guy's gonna die. It's not that. I just, again, he kind of, for me, I thought he lasted a lot longer in the show than I thought it was going to be perfect honest.
No, dude, being totally honest, he lasted way longer than he should have, because Herschel took his death.
Oh, okay, that's how he died. Okay.
He went out the bad way, dude, in the comics.
The governor beheaded him, yeah?
The governor beheaded him. And in the comics, I guess he questions Rick a little bit more. He's a little bit more aggressive in the comics. He was an ex-football player, which I don't think they touch on in the show.
Well, speaking of him and Carol have that episode that me and you wanted to get to, the 2 little girls episode.
Yeah. Oh man, this is so much different than in the comics.
Well, I'll let you set it up. What's this episode about in the TV and this comic?
So in the comic book series, okay, everybody gets separated and everything. There is no fucking terminus. I mean, it exists in name, but they never visited none of that dumb shit. I mean, that's 100%. I saw these signs up and everything. I was like, dude, don't fucking go to that shit. That's obviously a trap. And they're like, oh, okay, let's go over there where there's free beer.
We'll talk about that later.
Like college girls. But so while everybody's split up, in the comic books, they're all managing to get back together, magically, basically. But in the TV show, the twin girls got murdered and everything. They're different characters. Alan's twin sons are the ones that one of them murders the other one, and the group does not know what to do with the murderer because he's a child, and they're trying to figure out what to do with this kid, and they decide to sleep over it overnight. Okay. Before I proceed with this story, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to give us our own cliffhanger. Who is your favorite character?
In The Walking Dead?
In The Walking Dead, who is your favorite character?
It's Rick.
Okay. And now I'm going to come out and say, in the TV show, I have a different favorite character than the comics.
Okay.
In the comics, my favorite character is Carl!
Okay. Interesting.
Okay, Carl is a lot different in the comics than he is in the TV show, which he is half the time non-existent.
Yeah.
In the comic book series, Carl is like, I think he's 7, he might be 6 actually when this all starts, whereas in the TV show he's like, I think 9 or 10.
Yeah,
he's a lot older, and even though it sounds like semantics, this creates a giant difference in dynamics for that character.
Okay.
Okay. Not only that, okay, let me rewind and go through up to this point in this story. Carl is the one who shoots Shane, which is the same in the TV show.
Yeah.
But what happens is, you remember in season 1 where Rick's like, let's go hunting, and he went with Shane and they had shotguns. And in the TV show, Dale gives him that funny look because he had a really funny look pointing a shotgun at Rick.
Yeah, of course, I remember that. Of course.
Okay. Shane and Rick get in a fist fight, and Carl just comes up. He's like, don't hurt my dad! He fucking shoots Shane. Just fucking pops him like right there, and then he runs off. And it's very clear Carl doesn't understand what the fuck's going on. He's like a little kid. All the other kids don't know what's going on. They're emotionally fragile. Most of the time they're like playing and stuff, including Carl. And Carl doesn't even really do a whole lot until after the prison arc, coming into where we're talking about in the TV show. So up to that point, he doesn't really show up a whole lot, but then after the prison, everybody gets back together. Rick gets sick, and he has to take care of Rick. Remember that part?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, this is where he actually starts to really kind of develop and become more of an independent character and everything. And he becomes the character that's willing to do stuff other people are not willing to do.
Okay.
Or because they can't, because of politics or because of drama or whatever. When they're trying to decide what to do with this kid, Carl knows what has to be done. This kid has to be put down. This kid is a fucking psychopath. He's a sociopath. He's a psychopath. He's gonna murder people in their sleep if they leave him alone. He sneaks out. He goes to the kid. The kid's like, "Oh, what are you doing here, Carl?" He's like, "Are you afraid of me?" And Carl's like, "No." And bam, he just pops him.
Nice.
And that's not the only time he ever does that. As we go into as we go into the future of the story, we'll talk about it a little bit more. But Carl is he's immature, but he's a proactive character.
Okay.
He's a very proactive character. He has a very clear definition of what's wrong and what's right.
They're trying to make him that way in the TV series, though. They are trying. It's probably not as bad as you're saying, but what you're saying, I feel like it's diluted. That's very diluted in this TV.
I would say,
like when he killed that boy in the forest with Herschel in season 4, and I had to do it, Dad. I had to. The guy was,
Yeah, I mean, I'll in their defense though, the TV show they expand more and make it an ensemble cast, whereas in the comic book series, most of the story is about Rick or Carl.
Okay, all right.
I mean, and everybody else is just around them, and it's mostly their story. But as for the season itself, where it's basically just groups of people wandering around, they get into some shit, some people die, eventually they get back together after being stupid and going to a place that's obviously a trap, and some of the other people come and rescue them. That's the basis of that story arc.
Alright, so how does that play in the comic? Because Terminus, by the way, those two episodes are my two favorite episodes of Walking Dead, by the way. And let me explain. Before they all get together, there's a particular scene in the series that's actually one of the best moments in the Walking Dead period for me. It's when these fucking guys, well, I don't want to go into too much detail, but basically Daryl's walking with these hunter guys that have their own little code or whatever. They catch up with Rick and they start fucking with Rick and his son. This is a particularly notable scene. This guy and this team of guys are fucking with Daryl, Carl, Michonne, and Rick. They got them all, and this guy's got a gun to Rick's head, say, we're gonna fuck you, we're gonna kill you, we're gonna kill your son, we're gonna rape Michonne, and they start beating up Carl in front of Rick, and Rick is like, don't touch my son, don't touch my son, don't touch him. And then the guy's laughing. Rick tries to tackle the guy shoots a gun off in his head, it goes all kind of funny, and then the guy grabs Rick in like a lock, and then the guy's like, what you gonna do now, Rick, huh? What you gonna do now, boy? And then Rick takes a bite out of this motherfucker's neck.
Oh yeah, fuck, I forgot about that.
Spits the shit out, and the guy that's beating up Carl looks at Rick and's like, what the fuck? And then Rick said, he's mine, and he takes a knife and he guts this motherfucker, and he starts ripping this guy apart. This is on AM. And I was like, that scene was awesome. He's ripping this guy apart that fucked with his son. He rips his belly open and he stabbed him to death, and you just see a close. They show a little bit of it, and then they just go into Michonne and Carl's face. And from this point on, they're trying to, I don't like this, but they try to show that Rick has really gone off the deep end. That at this point, from this point on, Rick is kind of like, I don't take any more chances. He's very trigger happy. He doesn't fuck around at all. This is the camera that broke Rick's back. This is the straw that broke Rick's back. And that scene was awesome. How can you forget that scene?
Dude, there's a lot of story.
And you're watching you're reading the comic and the TV. It's probably getting all mingled. And after that, by the way, Terminus, 100% agree with you. It was so fucking dumb. Come to Terminus, we're gonna feed you. In this world, it's like, come and steal my money. It makes no sense. Why would someone advertise something like that? So yeah, when they got taken on Terminus, it was stupid. It was so dumb. I was like, good, you guys are fucking idiots. Why would you think it's just a free safe haven like that? But in saying that, the episode where they escape Terminus, again, it's one of my favorite episodes of The Walking Dead. Very high action packed. Carol comes like Rambo.
Yeah. Oh man, back to favorite characters. TV show, my favorite character is Carol.
She's awesome until season 6, which we'll get to. But yeah, I mean that one episode where they escape Terminus and it's just mayhem, complete mayhem. It's like a fucking first-person shooter. Shit's going off everywhere. Even Rick has another iconic line. They don't know who they're messing with. These people don't know who they're messing with. They don't, because Rick has snapped. The whole team has been through all sorts of turmoil. I think this is the end of season 4 right now. Yeah, the end of season 4. And that was episode 1, season 5, by the way, when they escaped Terminus, and then it turns into the church scene. But that was one of my favorite episodes. I loved that scene. But before that, all the wandering, I didn't care for it that much. But I still liked it because there was some character building stuff there. But a lot of it was just them finding each other. So a lot of people were upset they were just walking around the woods, and a lot of these one-off episodes, and Maggie's sister gets kidnapped. Who gives a shit about that? But blah, 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 blah. A lot of that, half of that season is them just getting to Terminus. Actually, all of it. It's just from them walking the woods, getting to Terminus. As you said in the comics, I guess they just diluted it. But I kind of enjoyed it. I guess it was one of the weaker parts because there isn't a lot going on. But that last episode with Rick going crazy and Terminus escaping, and then after Terminus, again, they're in the woods again for a while. But yeah, man, I liked it. TV series, I liked it. I don't know how you felt about that.
Not one of my favorite seasons, but I mean, it wasn't bad because there's character development, like you said. Especially, Carol became my favorite character from that season. You know, going with the escaping from Terminus, and also, you know, having to deal with the twins on the television side. You know, that adaptation. She's the one that had to take care of them. So that, I think that made her grow into my favorite character at that point.
She's a good choice. All right, so moving on to season 5. Again, there's a lot. There's wandering in the forest again. The whole team's together in the TV series now. You can talk about their comic in a bit, but they stop at a church, and again, we meet one of the most annoying characters in the whole TV show, which is this preacher or this minister or whatever. And this guy is just annoying. I mean, I understand why they wrote him, and to be fair, what they wrote for him is believable, but he's just so annoying, so ungrateful. He gets him into certain trouble, and you know, part of me was like, Rick should have fucking killed this guy because he's just a fucking hindrance, and he nearly ends up costing them a lot, but he kind of fades in the background near the end. But that whole part of him in the church and them breaking up again. And again, they introduced 2 other characters, Eugene and this army guy. And Eugene, I know the cure. You take me to Washington so I can find the cure. I knew it was bullshit from the beginning. Most people knew that. Come on.
Oh yeah, dude, come on. That happens in the comics too. I mean,
really?
Basically, from the prison, they jump straight to the church. Everybody manages to get back together, and they meet up at the church, and they meet Abraham along the way. And the scene, your favorite scene, with Rick going nuts on that one guy with a knife, was actually the army dude Abraham, Rick, and Carl. It's just the three of them.
Okay, but Rick is still the one that gets set off.
Oh yeah, Rick is still the one that goes crazy because they're talking about they're gonna rape Carl. So
yeah, the boy was starting to. Actually in the AMC, the man was starting to. He was don't squirm, boy. It's gonna feel. It's like whoa, these guys are fucking insane. But let's go on to another point, which I know you like. Once they're at the church, then we're introduced to. Again, these guys are part of Terminus, the cannibals.
Yeah, the cannibal. Oh, you know what? What's his face? Tyrese's sister dies early on in the comics, but she becomes a big character in the TV show, and this is where she starts to really pick up.
Okay, so just jump to the comments for a minute. So at this point in the TV series, Tyrese and his sister are alive, but now you're telling me in the comics Tyrese is alive and his sister dies.
Tyrese, let me see. No, Tyrese died at the prison, and his sister also died at the prison.
Oh yeah, so you did say that. Oh really? Okay, so they don't even get this far. Interesting.
Nope. I mean, they're very important while they're in the story, but they don't live all that long.
Aww. Hey, was a smiley face guy there as well? Bob. Was Bob in the comic?
No, Bob was Bob was not in the comic. The person that becomes tainted meat is Dale.
Okay.
Yeah. So Dale lasts a lot longer, but I don't really care for Dale in the comics because he's just another survivor, whereas in the TV show he's the voice of consciousness. He's more in it for himself in the comic, like everybody.
Okay, well, believe it or not, we're starting to catch up to where the TV series is now because again, after the church thing, there's a lot of wandering in the forest again until they meet someone that tries to recruit them to a whole new community called Alexandria. So I'm going to kind of skip to that point because everything before that is still a lot of wandering. It isn't a major thing, except for they find out that the guy was lying about the cure, which you all knew. So in the TV series, the thing I said to you about Alexandria is if there was a fantasy realm where the Walking Dead could have stopped, I guess you could have stopped there and pretended Alexandria was a haven in the end. Because when Rick gets to Alexandria, there's this whole, in the TV series, there's the whole point of detachment where he's like, I can't believe that. Can I rest after everything he's been through? And what's his name? The Asian dude.
Oh, Glenn?
Glenn keeps on saying to him that we've been out there for too long. And this is the point they make at this point. We were out there for too long. Michonne's tired of being out there. A lot of them are tired, but Rick can't shake the realities in. And even when he enters Alexandria in the series, he can't. And I didn't really like that. And because it made sense. This is what bothered me. It made sense. He was so riled. Where to me, all these other guys looking at Rick like, Rick, you need to chill out, dude. This is perfect. It's like, dude. Yeah, I mean,
after all that shit, you guys are the ones that went to Terminus, not him.
Yeah, that's what I'm like. This doesn't why is Rick the only one shell shocked? Like, why are you guys also? I understand that people we need to rest, we need to give in. I want to rest. I understand that, but don't look at this guy like why can't you just be like you're scaring everyone, Rick? I mean, there's a particular scene where Rick loses his shit and throws a gun on these people, and we'll talk about the people in Alexandria. These people are fucking annoying. But this whole Alexandria plot, I like it at first because it's kind of a role reversal. Like, Rick comes into this community where they're insulated. These people in Alexandria, which I find fucking unbelievable, they were very insulated from the whole zombie apocalypse, and they saw little of the outside world. They've just interacted very little. So all the things the group have dealt with, they hardly understand, or they just, and it's a very irritating thing to watch because they seem very naive. The people very naive, and eventually, it catches up to them. But just watching it for the first 5, this is season 5, by the way, near the end of season 5, they're just adapting. They're trying to integrate. The group are trying to integrate into Alexandria, and it's a lot of tension there. That's what most of the end of season 5 is about. The tension of the group integrating into Alexandria. And for me, from a writing perspective, I liked it. I thought this is interesting. It's very interesting. It's like showing it gave the group a chance to look in the mirror and see what they've become.
Yeah, they're like borderline going to turn into people like the governor's group.
Yeah, exactly.
At that point.
And I really like that. This is a good point to stop and for them to reflect and for them to see what they've become and to try to absorb. But again, the woman that was in charge of Alexandria, again, she was an optimist, and she's anyway. Alexandria was okay for me, but it just annoyed me a bit, and I was just waiting for the shoe to drop, which it did, which was great when it did. But I'll let you speak about it. But the introduction of Alexandria as a plot idea was interesting. It was good, and the end of season 5 was Alexandria losing its haze, but we'll get to that in a minute. But I want to hear about the introduction to Alexandria in the comic book and your perspective on it as well.
It's not that different in the comic book, how they get there and how they get in and everything, and how the Alexandrites are. And, you know, honestly, watching it and reading it, it's about the same. It's not that different.
Okay.
But I did like it, but by the time it got to that point, I was like, this better be the one that works out. Because I'm kind of getting tired of them getting to some place that looks like they become their home, and we could go into the future and see what it's like actually surviving as a community.
Yeah.
And then everything gets fucked up, mostly because people do dumb shit.
And let me tell you something, that was my favorite part of this. Because I was getting kind of bored, like you said. I was like, maybe that's what I said to you. Maybe I could stop watching The Walking Dead here. There was an episode where you could have just stopped because they found Alexandria. Rick became a police officer again. It came full circle. Everyone had their own houses. The end, I thought, Walking Dead could end here. It'll be silly, I guess. But, you know, the end. Let's just pretend everything worked out at the end, blah, blah, blah. But the next episode, you get to see how these Alexandrians have been living in the world. They're making stupid fucking runs. Like, these kids are making runs where they're trying to taunt zombies. I fucking hate that, playing with zombies.
Dude, it's even worse in the comics. Like, they straight up get, like, killed. They get themselves... Well, actually, I guess they do in a TV show, too.
Yeah, they do, because there's a particular scene where they go out for a run, and one of these and this is where Glenn gets on my fucking nerves. One of the guys that's part of the Alexandria team, he goes on runs with the goes again, and in the TV series, he gets 2 people fucking killed and tries to kill Glenn at the same fucking time, and Glenn forgives him. Now, it was a hard pill to swallow, but again, we don't need another Rick. I'm like, okay, they don't want him to be like Rick and just kill him, and they want this guy to be the good guy. I get it. I understand.
Yeah, I don't know. I actually had a lot of problems with that too, because it's like, getting 2 people killed is like, I don't want to be anywhere around you. You stay the fuck away from me. But somebody tries to murder you. Like, he tries to lure you out into the woods and murder you,
that's
kill you.
That's the second time. We'll get to that. That's the second time. This is the first time when he shot him in the mall and he ran away and tried to run off of the car and run home. And then obviously then he brought him back.
People panic, okay? I'm not saying that I would get past it. I would probably shoot the guy. Sure. But I'm just saying I could, in the context of this is a super good guy, okay, whatever. But when somebody's trying to murder you, that's the line that you need to draw.
100%.
If you're eating other people, if you're trying to murder other people, you have a fucking problem. You shouldn't be alive.
Yeah. So actually, there's one point I'm going to kind of fast forward because we are catching up very quickly to what's going on now. But one point of the show I thought was interesting was the first person Rick ever met in The Walking Dead after the zombie apocalypse was this black guy and his son. And we did kind of skim over. He met him halfway through season 3 as well, but we didn't mention that. But he comes back in this season as back into the main character fold, which is I forgot his name right now.
I don't remember his name either, but I hate the change they made to him. I'm gonna be honest.
Oh shit! Why can't I? He's a black guy who knows Aikido. And basically, we need to rewind because Rick found this guy in season 3. He had a son, and obviously he lost his mind completely. His son obviously died in a very horrific way. And when Rick met him, Rick was still optimistic. He didn't even go through a lot of the shit he went through, but the guy lost his mind, and I didn't think we'd ever see him again. So to see him again now, and he's become this very, very humanitarian, peace-loving, life is precious kind of guy, I thought, what the fuck? But okay, let's see where this goes. So at the end of season 5, he witnesses Rick killing one of the people of Alexandria because this guy was abusing his wife, and you know, everyone hates Rick in the town because Rick's a psycho. Even some of Rick's group is like, oh, Rick, calm down, Rick, you need to mentor the group. But you know, basically, the guy, I kind of, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you're a bit lost. But basically, Rick is like the bad guy, and this guy witnesses Rick kill somebody, and it's a dumb season cliffhanger. It really is like, what the fuck? It's out of context. This guy saw Rick kill someone. It's completely out of context. I don't know why they ended the season on that. It was very dumb. Anyway, the season picks back up, and then we're on to the most recent season, the beginning, season 6. Season 6, again, it seems like, and I've read in the comics, Alexandra has become a base for this show, for the main part, for Rick's group, which seems like a good idea, because for them to keep moving would just be very formulaic.
It was getting tiresome by that point.
To be fair, and what I liked about it was that Alexandria does get overrun by zombies in another cool, good scene, but they don't leave. They fight to protect it for once. Instead of running away like in the prison and in the farm, they fight for Alexandria and they take it back, which is really fucking awesome, really great. And but before we even get to that, season 6, they decided to change their narrative, which is very interesting because Rick, they find out that there's a whole group of zombies out of town that basically would have made their way eventually to Alexandria and overran them. So 6 starts formulating in a plan, and from a TV perspective, they decide to break this up into episodes, doing like this future thing where some of the episodes are set before and after. It goes back and forth, and you're following a group of characters. Basically, they split the narrative. It's not linear anymore. The first 6 episodes of season 6 are a bit scatterbrained. You're a group of different groups of people. Some things that happened before, something else. I liked it for the fact that it made it interesting again. A lot of people were complaining Walking Dead was formulaic. Rick's got this plan to save Alexandria. It's very grandiose. They have to do a lot of planning. They have to lead zombies. Actually, from a filming perspective, they did really well. They had to get, I'm sure they had to get 100 extras to shoot that scene and to load them all the way. It was really well done. From a filming perspective, I thought that was really well done. From a story perspective, I don't know. So I want to
the story perspective, man. That was the stupidest fucking thing in the world. I'm sorry.
That whole thing only lasted 6 episodes anyway. Rick's plans, the whole Alexandria gets overrun. They take it back. But now we're coming to what's happening more recently, because after they get back Alexandria, this is where we start coming into what's recently happening. Basically, Alexandria is their base, but they're running out of food. And even though Rick has taken over as more or less a governor now because the other lady died, they actually, I don't know if, is it another, the Hilltop? Does the Hilltop find them, or do they find the Hilltop?
The Hilltop has a character that's similar to Alexandria's Aaron.
Oh, Jesus!
Yeah.
Jesus, yeah.
Jesus? Yeah, so they meet Jesus, and that's how they learn about the Hilltop. He decides he wants to bring him over. Up until this point, basically the same thing in the comics. The Alexandria gets overrun by zombies. They fucking flush it out. Comes under Rick's leadership, and he helps plan out rebuilding it so that zombies aren't going to get back in. There isn't any of that herd of zombies where they have to run it past Alexandria. That was for the TV show, and I want to say it's very dumb. I'm sorry, just fucking set them on fire, do something else. That was one of the dumbest things I've ever seen in The Walking Dead.
It was a bad plan. It was so risky. It was so dumb. It should have went wrong, by the way. That plan should not have worked, especially when there was a bit where they were running up against the wall and they had to divert them by shooting off guns. It's like you should have set them on fire. You couldn't get gasoline. I mean, they would have all caught on fire eventually. They're dumb and they walk into fire as it proves they are. But anyway, that's neither here nor there.
It's just, I don't know. That the whole thing was just, I think they had 6 episodes, they didn't know what the fuck to do with.
And it's that in the comics, by the way.
No.
What a surprise.
That was just really weird. But they had more going on in the comics with the politics of Alexandria going on, I think, than in the TV show. In the TV show, they kind of delve more into the personal lives of Rick's group and them trying to adjust and everything and get situated. Whereas in the comic books, it's just Rick is he's basically trying to take over Alexandria once he gets there.
That's what I love. Actually, I forgot to mention that. There was a scene where Rick said, if these people don't change, I'm going to take over this place. Rick is my favorite character because he is a character that I feels the most realistic representation of how someone would evolve in this time. I don't think he's evil. I think he started off very optimistic, but this world has changed him into what he is. And everybody else, to me, is kind of like semi-unrealistic. They try to bend, but it's like, no, Rick is the only one to me who's like, this is the way he will turn out. 110%. He's been bent, broken, teased, burnt, everything. He's been so mentally distraught, so abused in so many different ways.
He's been betrayed too.
And he's still not evil, but he's not evil, but he's just not a fucking idiot.
He's not evil, but he's not officer friendly anymore.
No, he's not. And it's like everything he does is like, yes, that's what I would do. Everything he says. So anyway, there's so many scenes I would love to bring up, but again, we got to wrap this up. And we're getting to the most recent part of The Walking Dead, because when we meet this guy in the hilltop, they kind of strike a deal that, you know what, they get to the hilltop, and these guys to the hilltop, they got food, they got some resources, and the Alexandria team, Rick's team, wants them. But the hilltop got a problem. Hilltop have got a big problem, and it's called, these guys called Negan's crew, or Negan, or some kind of thing called Negan, and they tell Rick that, man, we got this problem, we're giving half our shit to these fucking guys. And Rick's like, you know what, man, Rick, I don't want to say he's arrogant, but he's been through so much shit. He's like, you know what, man, the shit we've had to do, if we have to take care of these guys so we can eat, you know what, we're gonna do it, because we've done it before and we can do it again. And I like that, because again, I agree, I would do that, that's what you have to do. And it's not like he's hungry to do it, but he's done it before, it's a different kind of world, and I love that Rick steps to the plate. Everyone else, again, is kind of umming and ahhing, and in the TV series, they're very quiet about it. There's a particular meeting where Rick is like, we gotta kill these guys, because anyway, they would kill us anyway. We've seen what these guys do, and to be honest with you, there's in the TV series, there's an earlier scene where Daryl even catches up to them, and they want to kill Daryl, and so you can already see these guys are not good. So Rick is just taking the offensive, which again, for the Walking Dead series, I liked it. Rick has become, you could say he's become the governor or whatever, but he's become the offensive, he's doing what he has to do, and you stop me if you want, old boy, but through the end of the end of season 6, they make an attack, a very well planned attack on what they think is the major part of Negan's crew, which is another very good episode, very bloody. And they, the thing I like about the TV series, they kind of portray them as the villains, because the way they attack them is very merciless, very, very calculated, and they just kill them. They kill them, they infiltrate, they're hiding in some kind of satellite base or radio station or whatever, and they get in there and they kill them.
They didn't kill them, they just straight up went and murdered them, like in the middle of the night.
Yeah, they murdered them flawlessly, absolutely flawlessly. And there was a big part of Glenn obviously being the voice of reason. Again, we'll get to Glenn in a minute, but he didn't want to kill, but he did what he had to do. From a human perspective, I like the way they address it. He didn't want to kill, but he signed up to do it and he did it, and I like that. Even though he's a nice guy, again, Glenn did what he had to do. I like that. I'll let you speak about it more, because we're really coming up to how this backfires on them later, or how the consequences of that comes up to them.
Well, we're basically at the end of where the TV show is anyways. Yeah. But this kind of differs from the comic. I mean, the way that Rick enters the deal with Hilltop is, I liked it in the TV show, but he's actually kind of cocky about it in the comic books. And instead of them doing this night strike like in the TV show, they run into a group of guys in the comic books who basically try to highway jack them, and they're Negan's guys. And instead of giving them their stuff, they fucking kill them, and then they rub it in the one guy's face and say, "Go back to Negan and tell him he can give us half of your shit." From now on, we're the new Negans. Fuck Negan. And that's what backfires on them in the comic books, which is like, it was a little bit of a head scratcher to me. It's like, I don't have a problem with you signing up to get rid of these guys, these extortionists or whatever. Yeah. But this is actually kind of dumb. You should have just killed all of them or followed this guy or something, not just let him go and be like, ha 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 ha. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think it was done better in the TV show than in the comics. Okay, that's interesting to hear. We'll talk. There's some notable things we'll talk about, but let's just wrap this up, because I do want to get into some little character things. But let's finish off the story and get to the main event, this ending or whatever. So, long story short, after they made this attack, it didn't really turn out as planned, because I'm going to skip over more details. Long story short, they make the attack. That's fine. They make the deal with Hilltop. They think everything's all good, but then Carol has this conflicting. Well, the way the TV, I'm sure the comic does it differently. Carol runs away. Carol doesn't exist at this point in the comics.
Oh yeah, sorry. So, anyway, to get into details is long, because in the TV series they do it in a way where 3 different sets of people run out of Alexandria at one time, and they all run into Negan ultimately at the end. That's how they do it in the TV series. And I don't want to break it down how this happens. One part is Carol, one part is Daryl running off to get revenge. Another part is Rick chasing them again. So they just get basically the TV series writes an excuse to get them out of Alexandria again, and because of that, they finally run into Negan's the boat.
Wait, hold on. I don't think Carol and Rick's old friend ran into them. I thought they were off on their own thing.
No, I'm just saying how they get them out of Alexandria because they go to chase them. Rick goes to chase Carol. Carol doesn't get into them. Carol and the other guy, I think his name's Morgan. Is it Morgan?
Yeah, that's right. It's Morgan.
Carol and Morgan. Rick was just going to chase them because he's outside. He later runs into Negan because of that, not because. Yeah, we'll get to Carol later anyway. But I'm just saying Rick is outside.
No, he doesn't. Morgan says, Rick, you got shit to take care of. I'm gonna go look for Carol. So Rick goes back and he gets his caravan together with most of the people that end up at the ending scene of season 6. But he doesn't run out of Negan because he's chasing Carol. He goes back.
Yeah, I'm just saying he got out. We're arguing about this. I'm just saying the only reason he left Alexandria was because of Carol. That's all I said. That's what I meant.
Okay, but he eventually just goes and does what he was originally going to do anyways and leaves in the caravan.
Okay. Anyway, neither that doesn't matter. I'm wrong. Let's just put it. I'm wrong. Let's see about that. So you fucker. So yeah. Anyway, it doesn't even matter how they all get out there. Let's just get to the fucking end. So let's just say that basically the shit they started with Negan's crew doing that whole assassination attempt comes to bite them in the ass. They realize that Negan isn't just a person, or they thought they got Negan, but they finally meet Negan and his crew. You can see from the TV series, Negan has got a whole bunch of people. The series ends with Negan lining up the main characters from Walking Dead, Rick's crew, and the actor that's playing Negan is actually one of the biggest positives of the show. They got the guy who played the comedian, The Watchmen.
Yeah, it's Jeffrey Morgan.
He's a phenomenal actor. A fantastic choice. I mean, I don't know Negan from the comics, but just as an actor, if they want someone who can
play crazy,
yeah, and charisma and threatening and a menace, but still have a wicked smile, that's your fucking guy. Love that guy. That guy's fucking awesome. I thought that was a great pick.
That would have been my pick for Negan.
Comes out, so we'll get to this epic finale. So anyway, long story short, Negan comes out and he's like, look man, you guys, you assassinated my team. That wasn't nice, and I come here, make all these deals, and someone has got to pay. I got my team here, you made a fool out of me, somebody's got to die. More than one person should die in my book, if he's being honest. I don't know why he has to kill, just for TV I guess he has to kill one person, but he's just kill one person. So in the TV series, how they do it is, he does this. What's that game you call? What's it called?
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. And the way the camera shoots is that you don't see who he kills because it's a first-person perspective. You're the one that gets bludgeoned, but you don't see who you are. So it was a big cliffhanger, and I'll let you talk about it next in the comics. Well, do you want me to finish this off, or do you want to speak about the comics version first?
Well, are we gonna make predictions on who he was hitting?
Yeah, all right. Let's do that first, then we'll talk about the comic because you've got the comic reveals this, that, and that. So anyway, I want your opinion on this. There's a big controversy with this episode because people said the ending was terrible. Oh, Negan should have just killed them and should have just showed you. Why did they tease us? And I'm not gonna watch Walking Dead anymore. Look, I understand being upset. I don't understand the word controversial. I understand when you're pissed off and you didn't see your character. I'm not really that bothered because TV pull that cliffhanger shit all the time. And to be fair, I just watched Walking Dead in bulk, and this is the first time they've pulled this kind of cliffhanger. Particularly that they've never done a who's dead cliffhanger. They've done what's gonna happen cliffhanger, but never done guess who's dead cliffhanger. So for me, it's like meh. So I was like, I didn't think it was controversial. I just thought it was a cheap trick that TV networks pull. But again, some TV shows do this because they want to give themselves a name. Like if you put in Google best TV show season finales, this is gonna go up as one of them. And a lot of shows do that because they lack a bit of notoriety. So I know Walking Dead could have showed you who died, and it wouldn't have made such a big deal. But would the show have got much notoriety? Would the show got all those ratings? Would people be talking about it? No. So is it a dirty trick? Is it a gimmick? Yes. But honestly, I can see why they did it, and I don't have a big problem with it personally. Not the big. I think it's lame in a way, but it will make me want to watch season 7, and that's exactly why they did it.
Yeah, it's nothing new to me. I don't have a problem with it at all. I mean, honestly, I'm gonna be honest. I mean, just totally honest. Most of the time, when it comes to these kind of things, I'm pretty accurate. I'm more accurate than I'm wrong at predicting what happened or whatever. I mean, if you're asking me about Game of Thrones, I'm really confident about my predictions I made on that recording.
We'll see about that, son. We'll see about that.
Like, I am like 90% certain that shit's gonna play out like that. But with this one, I honestly, because the parallel universe dynamic versus what happened in the comic, do you stay true to it? What happens in the comic is honestly the most brutal thing that I've ever seen in both the TV show and in the comic up to this point. So it goes back to that, are you going to cross this line or not with the TV show, which they've been getting progressively closer to. They're like basically at the line now. It just depends on so many different factors. I don't have a clear prediction of who it is. I have a group of them, and I have reasonings that make a good case for them, but all of them are about equal.
Well, let me ask you this. I'm going to ask you that in 3 different ways. Who would you think would be the best person to kill to shock the fans?
Okay. The best person to kill to shock the fans, my original prediction was Maggie. And the reason why it was Maggie is because we go back to the parallel universe thing. They explore a lot of options that they cut themselves off from in the comics with the TV show. One of them being, in the comics, Maggie lives. She becomes a very important character. She has a kid. In the comics, Laurie dies, Judith dies. In the TV show, Laurie dies, Judith lives. So in this sense, you would be exchanging which baby lived. Not only that, Maggie becomes an important character in the comic book series because Glenn dies. This is where Glenn dies in the comic book series. It's a very fucked up death. He gets killed. They adopt Carol's girl Sophia. Mm-hmm. So they're actually a family unit. He is brutally murdered, or actually brutally executed in front of his wife, his kid, by having his head beaten into by a baseball bat until it's chunks on the floor. Like literally, the last time you ever see Glenn, his fucking face is broken into pieces, his skull's all shattered and everything, his eyeballs.
It's all over the internet, and this is the problem. Everyone's seeing it on the line because everyone's spotted it. Everybody knows that. So would it be if they did that? How would you feel if they actually just went through with that? And would that be like a double surprise? Like you didn't feel would do that, did you?
I would be surprised by it. It's like I said, all my guesses are basically on the same level. I would not expect Glenn to die here, but I wouldn't be surprised because he is that ultimate good guy. And can that ultimate good guy exist in this world? Probably not. And then, having him get killed here just basically by fluke chance because he got randomly picked is probably the most acceptable way for the super good guy character in a story like this, as brutal as this, as depressing as this, to die acceptably. He doesn't get killed by doing some stupid action. Somebody else isn't quote unquote better than him and just gets to drop on him or something. Doesn't make a mistake. He just pure luck. He got killed, just sheerly by pure luck. So he's not one of my picks, but it's mostly because he dies in the comics. But if they stayed true to it, I'd be a little surprised, but I wouldn't be super surprised. I would be less surprised than surprised. But I would think it's Maggie on the surprising level because number one, she's a woman, and you would figure that gives a character a better chance to not get executed in this fashion, especially.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. It would honestly, I would be disgusted.
There are people who, working through their predictions of this, said that Negan would not kill women, which is not true. I reread the comic book just to double check this scene to see, number one, if he ever said he was going to kill anybody. P.S. In the comic books, he does not say he's going to kill anybody. He just says he's going to beat the fuck out of them. Number two, I was going to see if he outright said, I'm not going to kill any women because I can't kill women. No, he says he doesn't want to. These are two very different things. So they're on the table. In the TV show, same deal. He doesn't expressly say he's not going to kill anybody. Although because of that, it's possible he doesn't kill anybody. He just beats somebody, and they might become like permanently handicapped, which could happen to Glenn. Glenn could serve as the ultimate reminder to Rick and the source of guilt that he's super fucked up if he doesn't die, but he's like brain damaged from this.
Which is very unlikely. I mean, they're going to kill someone.
It is very unlikely. I mean, in the comic books, the first time he gets hit, you know he's gonna die. Like I saw him, his fucking eyeball popped out. I was like, oh fuck, this is his end, you know. But because it doesn't show, maybe not, unlikely. Okay, possible but unlikely. But most surprising, I would say, is Maggie. She was my original prediction, but that was before she started having problems with childbirth and everything, which does not happen in the comic book series. In the comic book series, Glenn's just like, look, I'm thinking about you and the kid. The Hilltop is just such a better place, a better community. We're going to be safer there. Let's move there and live there, which he does say in the TV show too, but she does not get sick. Okay? She's perfectly fine when they go make their trip towards Hilltop.
Well, can I ask you, who would die that you would just feel that apart from Rick, you're not going to kill Rick? Rick and Carl are out, and then even he says something to the effect that you know that it's not them two. But who would you kill that it would just be that it wouldn't make any sense for you apart from Rick and Carl? It just wouldn't make any sense for you to kill that person.
Well, I think that's part of the problem. I'm trying to think of who is there, and I think everybody except for Rick and Carl are basically up for grabs.
Yeah, I agree. Because the shock factor, it's like if you kill anyone there, don't kill Michonne, she doesn't prove much. But I'm like, again, it just proves you'll kill a woman. I mean, you know, black woman, whatever. It just doesn't care. Speaking of
Michonne, I actually think she's safe, not because she's a woman or she's a minority character or anything like that. In the comic books, Rick ends up with Andrea, not Michonne. So
really?
Yeah. So this role reversal, it would be odd to me for them to throw that away for Rick to have a future unexplored with Michonne in the future, whereas they already killed Andrea. So what? You're gonna make a new character? Or he's just gonna be single in the future? Come on. This is half of what everybody wanted, was to see Rick be happy with somebody.
Yeah.
So I would say she's actually maybe like a 5 or 10% chance, but basically the safest character outside of Rick and Carl.
So I sent you a video about these guys. Most guys got a one particular logical, they feel like it's a logical conclusion who they think it's going to be, and that's Abraham, because there's a lot of foreshadowing and they did a lot of TV things that, you know, this guy's time has come. Any reason why you don't think it would be him?
Yeah, there's many reasons. Although I want to compliment that video and the breakdown and the detective work they did. Very good. However, we live in a world where TV producers and executives don't give a flying fuck, okay? Like, it's nice that they worked out all those angles and everything, but they could have shot like 9 different angles of him hitting somebody in the head and been like, that one's the most dramatic, or I like the lighting on that one, blah blah blah. You know, whatever fucking arbitrary reason.
They don't have to follow any rules, exactly.
They could have even planned it out that way, and by the end of next season, they had a problem with one of the other actors, like, oh fuck that guy, we're bringing Abraham back in.
Exactly.
So it's great detective work, doesn't mean anything to me. But Abraham, for several reasons, I don't think it's him. Okay, here's the first reason. In the comic book, we already talked about the parallel universes and exploring other possibilities. In the comic book series, he dies.
Absolutely.
He dies before this point. He gets killed the way that Heather got killed. He gets shot by Dwight in the head.
Yeah.
While he's talking to what's his face, Eugene.
Yeah.
Eugene lives on in the comics, so again, like I was talking with Maggie and Glenn, it makes more sense to me if they're going to explore it, because they've basically written it so that Eugene is not necessary to go into the future. He plays a big part in the comics, but because he left instructions, all this other stuff, they found the location, the equipment. Technically, all of Abraham's story mostly is also Eugene's story as well. I mean, nobody wants to see some dork playing Dungeons and Dragons or whatever before the zombie apocalypse. So basically, whatever it's shown of Abraham has also been Eugene's story. So in that sense of foreshadowing or whatever, Eugene's death has also been foreshadowed.
Okay, true. 100% true.
The other thing, specifically regarding Abraham, everything that happens, this is not any kind of spoiler. Rick's group is going to fucking rebel and have a war with Negan. Like, duh.
Yeah.
Duh, okay? So, one of the very first things Rick says is, fuck, I wish Abraham was here. His strategies and tactics would make things go way easier. Now, I want to ask you, how long do you think they could have a war with Negan? I expect a lot of great action and everything based off the comics, but how long do you think an audience could handle this week by week, a war being played out on?
We're gonna get into that in a minute, actually, because we're gonna wrap this up, because I did notice, like I said, a lot of people have read the comic now, especially from this part, just this recent comic, because they just want to know where they feel the story's gonna go, and that's why I feel like the writers feel like they have to make big changes now, because like you said, this war, this in a comic, I think there's a lot gonna happen with one particular story, and in TV they can't.
This is no bullshit. In my 3 trade books, the war takes up like 80-90% of the 3rd trade book. It is a fucking really long and brutal war.
And TV can't do that. TV cannot
do that. And what is your simplest solutions? Well, you need Tara's a really strong fighter, Carol's a really strong fighter, Abraham's a really strong fighter. If you're missing one of these guys, can it go faster? Sure, but it really helps if you have one of these guys that has a lot of fighting ability.
And they've never let any arc go on for more than a season and a half. I don't think they're going to change that. And even though they've said Walking Dead could go on forever, I honestly don't think, and even the actor as well, they won't want to stay in doing this, especially that actor, he's kind of a Hollywood guy. He won't want to be doing this for 4 or 5 years, so...
Yeah, but the other thing is, shit, you made me lose my train of thought.
Good.
The other thing is, specifically after what happens after the story arc, is 10-year time skip, and then you get to see the future that they've built without having to see them build it. Whereas the TV show, I think they're going to focus a lot on showing you how they build up to that point, because just through the magic of casting, how the fuck are you going to age everybody 10 years? That's pretty hard. So more than likely, they're going to have this war. They're going to want to get it over with, not super fast, but not super long. And then they're going to want to move on to the next story arc. And Abraham being there would really help facilitate it. Is he necessary? No, but it would really help the audience believe that things can go faster or more smoothly. You know what I mean?
All right, well, we're going to wrap this up. I need to ask old boy a question, because unfortunately, we've got to talk about Fear the Walking Dead. And we're coming on the 2-hour mark, and I do want to make this a good 2 hours solid so I can edit it down or whatever.
It sucks, don't watch it at the end.
Okay, well, there's a little bit more to it than that. But yeah, The Walking Dead, just to wrap up The Walking Dead, I think The Walking Dead is a phenomenal TV show. It's all about character development. This is, I think what I've learned from this, We're Alive, the two of us, is a zombie apocalypse changes the social elements of life, changes the structure of life, changes, it's a survival story, and it can make great character stories and great personal stories. And that's what I like about a zombie survival story. Not the zombies themselves, but the environments they create and the relationships they can foster. And that's what Walking Dead has taken, and run with. And I really enjoyed that. I wasn't expecting to like the show as much as I did. If I had to give it a rating, that's easy. It's a first-class show. I really do like it. I think it does great with character development. Really good stuff. It's had this problems here. I didn't even mention a lot of the quibbles I had there, but we're going to be doing another Walking Dead podcast in the future. We're going to cover season 7 separately anyway and see what they do, because we're very curious anyway. But we've got to move on. Oh, sorry. I didn't ask you anyway. What your summary of The Walking Dead, of the TV series anyway, and the comic.
Oh, I've been talking about it, my feelings throughout the entire recording. But basically, The Walking Dead is the TV series. The Walking Dead is an ensemble cast done well. The main problem is people doing dumb shit. But that's really any zombie story. So
or horror story, yeah.
Or horror story, yeah. I would say both the TV show and the comics. I like them for different things. I dislike them for basically the same thing. Low first class, both of them.
Okay. You're always a bit more critical than me, which makes perfect sense. So that's good. It's still got the
first stuff. Especially because when it comes to survival stories like this, I'm a prepper, so I see things a very specific way. Like that doesn't make sense. Blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like I'll look at it from that story, from that perspective, instead of just letting my mind accept everything as it is being told to me.
I hear you. Oh boy. So anyway, moving on to the Fear the Walking Dead. You know what, man? I wasn't, like I said, I hadn't watched The Walking Dead for all these years. Another thing that just made me very pessimistic is when I heard they were doing a prequel series. I just thought to myself, is this show so beloved that they got to milk it and make another, but me saying that, it's just a knee-jerk reaction. I said all that shit without watching it. Now I've watched it, and I can tell you, man, what the this is some milking shit. Like, seriously. I mean, one of the things that bothers me is that the guy said, "Oh, The Walking Dead's a TV series that can go on forever. We can never see end to this because the zombie apocalypse world, we can expand it and dilute it." And my whole thing is, look, man, no story should go on forever because nothing goes on forever. You can't make something quality last forever. Food goes off. Sunlight goes down. The whole world is about being finite, about ending. It's what life is about, ending. You don't want nothing should last. The Simpsons shouldn't last forever. It's a good example of why anything you enjoy should not last forever, because it always hits a point where you get to diminishing returns. And Walking Dead to me is not at that point yet. But no show, you should leave the show on a high. You should have a beginning, the middle, and the end. That's what I think. And some of my favorite shows have ended. There's no show that's been going on for 20 years that is good. It just never, ever happens. It never, ever will happen because the characters will die, or things will happen in life, or the world will come to, I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense. So I'm a bit perplexed when the guys that wrote the series said, we don't want to get into the backstory. We don't want to get into anything where you know anything about the world. All we want to do is make a character drama.
Basically, it's just a different flavor of Walking Dead, B-.
But all right, I know you're trying to cut it short, but I'm just saying, then why did you make a prequel show then? Because you're making a show set before it happens, so you're putting the idea people said that you're going to know more about how it happened. But then if you're not going to do that, then it's just more of the same.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I feel the same way, basically with everything you said. But if you're not going to answer any questions, both the setting, the storyline, the characters of the actual Walking Dead story instead of the Fear of the Walking Dead characters, what the fuck is the point of this? Like, I don't like any of the characters, I can tell you that. I liked one of them, he went cuckoo and killed himself. There's another character that I'm starting to kind of like, but I fucking hated him at first. And then the other character... No, the drug addict guy, because he's become more proactive.
I really like him. He reminds me of like a young Johnny Depp for some reason.
Yeah, well, maybe he looks like Johnny Depp if Johnny Depp did more drugs. But, I mean, basically, it's the painful beginning parts of any zombie apocalypse story that you've seen a million times. Why do you need to see it again?
Yeah.
If it's not answering any questions, it doesn't serve any purpose.
That's it.
Why?
I mean, the setting was different because they were in the past. Now it looks like, for all intents and purposes, on a timeline scale, they might as well be in the same time as the Walking Dead season 3 or whatever. So why am I watching this? Because I don't care about the characters. Let me get very, very specific, so I'm not just being very vague. The actors are half decent, but I hate the characters they portray. They are fucking stupid. They are boring. They're all basically one family, so there's no real dynamics. The outside characters, we've seen them before in The Walking Dead in different storylines, so I'm watching more of the same. So again, this makes no sense. The ratings are terrible. Everybody, any review says this is a flop. Like, why is it? And
I don't even know how it got another season, dude.
Exactly, that's what I was
the first season was crap.
First season, fair enough. But like, all right, give it a shot, fail. Why just get greener for a second season? Because it's riding off the coattails of The Walking Dead. And what they're trying to do, if you noticed, it's on right now. Why? Because The Walking Dead's not over. So all they're trying to do, in my mind, is just trying to fill the whole year of Walking Dead, which to me is the definition of milking, especially when it's not the same quality. This could have been, you want to do a Walking Dead show, do a Walking Dead show about some of the other characters we haven't seen, or some other team at Rick's time, or the Hilltop, or something.
You know, it doesn't even have to be fucking connected to the people in the actual Walking Dead show. Just make it good. Just make it fucking good. I mean, otherwise, I don't want to watch these guys.
And I'm watching this show, and we'll wrap up on this Walking Dead thing. I'm watching this show, and I'm like, okay, from a writing perspective, what are they trying to do that's different from The Walking? Because that's the problem they have now. Everyone's saying that these guys are going to get cancelled. Everyone's like, this show is going to get cancelled. The ratings are low. Everyone's complaining. So I'm just watching the show, and all they're doing is making the characters more unlikable. Every single character. I just watched, at the time of this recording, I just watched season 2, episode 7. Half of the characters are not just me. They're literally insane.
Yeah, there's something fucking.
Two of the young boys are completely unhinged, completely detached, and completely psychotic in two different ways. The main woman, who's meant to be the main character, is just an idiot. It's unlikable, and just they wrote her in a way where they trying to make her very flexible as the main character, but she is very unlikable, unrealistic, and again, just a mum. which is very, very tiresome and boring to watch. So, Castle, the only character that's interesting who cannot hold the show on his own is this black guy. It's the only guy, and even saying that isn't saying much because he's the most interesting, but even his arc in the shows, the most interesting part is over, but as a character, he's the most interesting. Everyone else can go to hell. Everyone else is rubbish. This show
like
is
the barber.
bullshit. The barber?
The guy that he set the place on fire in the last episode.
He started off psychotic, and he was like the most psychotic.
I don't have a problem with that. He was the only one that was interesting.
Don't get me wrong, he was interesting as well, but they made him like he's crazy and unhinged. He's a war vet. He's got all these, like, these guys are too unhinged. I mean, you're meant to get to this point. These characters are meant to become, unhinged by the world, but these guys are all of them are off balance.
Okay, let me say there is a way to save this show, but they're not going to do it.
What's that?
Okay.
Merge it with Walking Dead?
In a sense, but not the way you're thinking.
Go on.
In the comics, after the 10-year skip, their next big bad is a group of people who wear the skin of the deads, and they merge with different herds of zombies, and they live basically a religious lifestyle, revering the zombies.
That's fucking awesome.
this is the next big bad for The Walking Dead. Okay.
Wow.
The leader is a woman. Don't know anything about her other than she has a daughter around Carl's age. Her name, they just call her Alpha, as an alpha zombie or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. The blonde chick from Fear of the Walking Dead. This could be her story of how she becomes Alpha.
Wow.
If you do that, then sure, you can make all the characters around her fucking crazy, blah blah blah. It makes sense for her to become that kind of character. But will they do it? I doubt it.
Would the show last that long to get there? No, unless they cancel the show and then they wrap her into the Walking Dead itself.
Yeah, but basically, I mean,
but she's in the Walking Dead, then she's not in Fear anyway. But why the hell is the show called Fear the Walking Dead anyway?
I don't fucking know. I mean, I don't understand anything about this show, really.
It's really, honestly, I'm upset with the show because I'm watching from a writing perspective, and my one question is, what are you trying to achieve with this show? That's all. I'm watching, I'm like, I don't understand why the show exists. That's all. Answer me that one question, which they don't want to answer, by the way, because I've even seen people are like, we don't understand what you're trying to do with this show. You'll find out. That's all they say. Oh, you don't have any fucking idea. This is bullshit. It's just milking. To me, it's just milking. And you know what? If the writers have got an idea for the show, trust me, we will not get to the point where we find out what that is. Sorry.
No, it's not doing good enough to last that long.
It's not. So that's it. We're done. We're done.
Wait, you didn't give it a rating though, bro.
Not feeling this. Not feeling this. It's not clown shoes because it's not unwatchable. It's just very. If you've got, I'll even say this because some people, you know what? Here's an argument for you, old boy. Oh, you know what? People don't like this because of The Walking Dead. Just pretend you haven't watched The Walking Dead, and then it'll be a better show. If this show was The Walking Dead, actually, I would hate the show. This is everything I would fear The Walking Dead was. So no.
Hey, that's why it's called Fear of the Walking Dead.
Even that's a stretch, but I hear what you're saying. But honestly, is that a good defense for this show?
No, it's still bad. I mean, basically, if I were to wipe my entire memory of anything Walking Dead related and just watch the show, this show is, like I said, it's the worst part of the most stereotypical zombie stories I've ever read, watched, or seen. It's not anything special.
And apart from the black guy, the two women, I don't like them. So anyway, you know what? I'm gonna watch the end of the season just because. Not even because I like it. I know I should stop, but it's my completionist tendencies of getting the better of me. That's all. But
hey, you know what? Straight up, I don't have the time for this shit. If we're not gonna ever talk about it again, if we're not talking about this ever again, like when we talk about the Telltale Games, Walking Dead, when we talk about season 7, you don't want to talk about Fear. Fuck Fear. I'm not watching it.
The only thing I bring up about Fear is when it gets cancelled. That's the only. Oh, guess what? Fear Walking Dead gets cancelled. That's the only time we're gonna hear us talk about it next.
Okay.
So anyway, guys, that was our discussion on the Walking Dead franchise. We're going to be speaking about the games because the old boy has told me that the game story is so good. Not just him, like the game story has been unanimously praised. I really want to find out for myself. So I'm going to play the games next year. 2017, we're going to talk about the games and season 7 of The Walking Dead, and we're going to come back. But you know what? If you got this far in the podcast, my hat's off to you. I assume you're already a fan or you didn't care about spoilers. If you got this far, mercy. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. And, you know, let us know what your thoughts are of The Walking Dead, any of the seasons, the season finale of this season. Catface thoughts on the comics, your thoughts on the comics. Leave them down in the comments section down below. And yes, I'm late to the party. I've only watched Walking Dead now. Look at you, fucking fanboy. Look at you just jumping the bandwagon. Hey, man, I held out. I didn't watch this because of peer pressure. Well, no, I didn't watch it because of peer pressure. I watched it because of sheer interest. And Catface recommended it to me as a good story. He steered me right with We're Alive. And like I said, I don't want to harp on the genre, but I would be surprised if there was another TV series as good as The Walking Dead with the zombie genre. You know, I would be surprised.
No, it's not gonna be done. The only guys who had a chance of doing it fucked up their spinoff. So, I mean, my thoughts on Walking Dead. Look, you got a good ensemble cast story it's basically drama. The TV show is basically a drama show with survival elements and flavoring, whereas the comic book is survival with drama inherent to that situation. Both of them are good stories. They suffer a problem that a lot of these kind of stories suffer from, so it's not really a big ding or anything. You're probably going to enjoy it if you have similar tastes to us.
There you go. There you have it. That's the old boy's opinion. That's my opinion. But again, as I said before, leave your comments in the comment section down below. And we're going to leave it at that, guys. Thanks for listening. If you're listening to it on iTunes, I hope you enjoyed this wherever you are. On the train, on the bus, in your car, at home.
On the toilet. In the litter box.
In the zombie apocalypse of your house, wherever you are. Thanks for checking us out. Hit the annotation on the right to all the other stuff we do for TV shows, animation, all the other stuff we do. Click those annotations. Hit the subscribe button if you like these long-ass podcasts, which we don't do anymore. But this was a long time coming, so we had to do it.
Yeah. Just like Stardust Crusaders.
That's coming up very shortly because I'm loving that show. If you don't know what Stardust Crusaders is, you need to watch JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, which is completely different.
It's not completely different. It's the same story.
It's got some horror. Anyway, guys, we're getting the fuck out of here, guys. We wasted enough of your time. Thanks for listening. Oh boy, thanks for joining me on this one, the Walking Dead aficionado. Thank you, my buddy. See you on the next one, people. Take care. Peace out.
Bye bye.